G'day punters, welcome to Victims of the Punt, powered by puntingform.com.au, Australia, the world's easily the best, number one, very, very good horse racing database. Mark Rhoden, Cochin Soda, as I'll refer to him on the show, because we've got two Marks here, Mark Rhoden and obviously Mark Shean, the great man. How are you, boys?
Yeah, I'm all right. My namesake, Trent Cochin, had a pretty good night last night, leading the Tigers to a 14-goal win, so the Tiger train's rolling along again.
At what point do you turn it off last night?
I only half watched the last quarter, to be honest. Yeah.
Swan's looking pretty good, considering we pumped you blokes, so...
Yeah, anyway. As our coach said, they don't hand the cup out in April, mate, so we'll see at the end of the year.
You got to remember, Mark Shean, this bloke's team was no good for a very, very long time. They've won 3 of the last 4, and listen to the way he speaks. It's unbelievable.
Well,
anyway, how are you?
Team very similar. I didn't get the email about getting dressed up today either. I know that.
Either of you did.
No, you're wearing a tie. What's going on there?
Just showing that I can dress well if I wanted to.
All right.
I don't always have to wear a hoodie.
Yeah.
It's day 2 of the championships. I thought if I did a really nice video, maybe we could trick someone at the championships into retweeting us. Didn't work. Anyway.
Let us know how you go with that.
Yeah, no good. Anyway, race 1, boys. We've got 10 races. We're going to go through each and every race. We're going to obviously skip through some of them quicker than others, so the show doesn't go for 2 hours. Race 1 is over the 600 metres. It's for the 2-year-olds. It's a listed race. There's only 3 races on the card that aren't group races. This is one of those 3. Mark Rhoden, what's the map look like here?
Converge and or Morris's Me Dad, I think, will be vying for the lead, with Wolfburn probably taking the trail up to 1600. But Converge led over 14 last time and may look to do so again. But Morris's Me Dad led and won at Hawkesbury, so those two will sort it out between themselves, I think.
Mark Shean, have you got a bet here or a thought here?
Yeah, like Morris's Me Dad, Converge has probably got the best form line, but I've seen taller Shetland ponies than it, so I'm going to let it slide. Won't get control here, you wouldn't think, or if it does, it's going to have to do a bit of work. So it's got Morris's Me Dad and Wolfburn, who are stable mates, so I don't know that they'll cut at each other. So I did like Morris's Me Dad's win at Hawkesbury, where it beat the older horses. Got control there, and he looks to me like he wants a mile. So I'm probably going to be on him, either that or lay Converge if it parade's no good.
Yeah, I'm thinking along the same lines. I haven't come up with Morris's Me Dad. I think Converge was flattered. I mean, that does look the strongest form in the race. He's second to safe last start, but he had a pretty easy time in front in what turned out to be a dynamite rail, and he still wasn't able to get the job done, so I couldn't take a short price about him. I'm not desperate to bet in this race. I'm giving Allegra a chance, whose form looks pretty average. He was well down the track in the BRC Sires, but he sort of went to the line untested in that, so just sort of put a line through that. And then he really didn't seem to get round Mornington last start. I mean, that was a bad race, but he could just be looking for the Randwick mile. It might suit him, the big track 1600. They've switched states with it. Obviously have some kind of opinion of it. He could be a chance. As I'm just looking at dynamic, he's just shortened a point as I spoke. So the value might disappear with him. Also wanted to give number 6 Akahata a chance, but it was around double figures yesterday, and it's tightened up overnight as well. So, as I said, not a race I'm desperate to bet in.
I think that Allegron's been in 2 very slowly run races, and he looks like he's going to get a lot more speed there on Saturday. So, yeah, I thought he had some chance as well, up to 1600 for sure.
Yeah.
I think Mark's been kind there. The race at Mornington was a fucking disgrace.
It was.
It was not even a trial, and very, very hard, as we know, to sort of know how to handle that. It could be a really good thing for the horse, or it could be awful.
Yeah, true. But I'm just saying unsuited, and likely to be suited on Saturday. That's just the thought process.
Maurice's Me Dad is currently 340 everywhere. Does it start shorter? Do we get set now?
Yeah, no, I don't know if it'll start shorter. Although they do latch onto them sometimes at the races, you don't know what they're going to start. Depends if some of the syndicates like them or not, and they just keep betting.
Very hard to pick that these days.
All right, race 2 is a 1400 metre race for the 3-year-olds. Ellsberg for Timmy Clark's favourite. Is he moved over to Ty England now full time?
Yeah, I think Josh Parr and Tim Clark have both moved to Ty, so I'm not sure what happened there with Johnny Walter.
Sounds a bit hot, but anyway. Cochin, speed map here.
Speed map here. You've got Yardstick and, I'll just get it up here, Ellsberg contesting the lead. Yardstick's gone, I would say, too hard at its last two, so they might try and ride it a bit more patiently, which would give Ellsberg the chance to even joint lead or lead. And I thought Sagacious was the other one who'd be up there. Holyfield's best run last prep was when he led, but with these two inside him, I don't know if he'll be able to get across, and they might have to decide whether they want to push on and fight for that front spot with the other two or three of them, or try and get in somewhere in midfield.
He was ridden cold first up last prep off 2 trials. He's had 3 trials this preparation, Holyfield. So, favourite to be half cold, but you never know.
He was ridden cold all right first up last time, and then very differently the start after.
Yeah. Mark?
I'm a bit of a fan of Ellsberg as a horse. I think with no weight on his back here and a soft draw. So had 2 trials, no blinkers in either trial. I think he sets up nicely here. Private Eye has gone back to the trials and put blinkers on. He travelled much better in the trial than he did at Rose Hill, where he paraded very poorly before the race. So could be an improver. Look, he is a winner, this horse, but he does have to give Ellsberg 4.5 kilos in a start. So I think Ellsberg will be in the perfect position here. Rainbow Connection was a good run at Warwick Farm, but I think they've found him at the price now. Has been back the last couple of days, but I like Ellsberg here.
Yeah, I'm very similar. I just want a bit better than 320 odd. I've got.
Do you think you get it?
Yeah, I mean, they're betting 123ish. There's a chance. Depends what happens in the first. If a leader wins the first or an on-pacer, they might just stamp him and it won't get better than 320. I just like a little. He got control the day of his best win last prep. Ellsberg. He didn't dawdle in front, but he did get control. But there might be a little bit more competition for the lead. But that said, he's clearly the one to beat on the limit weight for mine. I think Private Eye's too short, given where he's going to be in the run. But I think he's got a chance. And as I mentioned when talking about the map, I think Yardstick can go better. He comes out of weaker races, but I think they've just, if you look at the early sections, they've just gone far too hard in both his last 2 starts. With a more patient ride, he perhaps could improve. And yes, Rainbow Connection actually it was the one I wanted to be on when I first saw the fields at double figure odds. I think it's a real improver. But it's going to get back from 10 and the price is hard. So I don't think he's a bet at 750, but certainly an improver who can be in the finish. But Ellsberg for me, but just want, if we can get around 360, 370, then I'll be looking to bet.
Just picking up on what you're both sort of saying there, the rail's out 3 metres on Saturday. We're anticipating on pace suited by the sounds. Is that right, Mark Rhoden?
I'd say on pace will certainly not be a disadvantage. This meeting last year, the fence was no good, but it started on a heavy 8. It's going to be a different proposition this time, of course. But last week on the True Rail, the fence was not much good all day. Again, it was a bit softer that day, and the rail does go out 3. So hopefully it's pretty fair, but do have an eye out for the fact that the fence might be no good.
Mark, Shean, have you been just checking to see if the taps have been turned on or off?
Well, they mentioned something in a tweet the other day that they were thinking about irrigating, which was mind-boggling.
Yeah.
But we've got a clear day here, and hopefully the taps will stay off. We've had no rain all week.
Track races?
Well, no rain all week. Surely we're entitled to have a good 3, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you think that race is, like on pace suited?
Oh, look, the 1,400-metre races, I'd rather be on horses in the first half of the field anyway. Look, there's been a couple of meetings with 2 and 3 metre rail where the track's been, I think, pretty fair. So at this stage, I'm thinking reasonably fair.
Cool. Race 3 is another 400-metre race. This looks pretty busy. It looks chaotic. Who wants to start here?
Well, the big news is Great News has been scratched this morning, which was the pre-post favourite, Cracked Heel. So it's come out. So big revamp of the market here. I'd expect Prince Aurelius to go forward. Pandano and Gemahara on speed as well. So looks like they'll cut along a little bit early.
Does that still mean we want to be with those on-pace horses, or with the anticipated sort of mad dash here, we want to be midfield this race?
Well, I think Prince Aurelius only knows one speed, and that's pretty hard. So I think they will string out a bit here and run along. Gemma Hara's a bit the same, likes to race on speed and roll. So, yeah, I think everything will probably get their chance here.
Mark Rhoden, do you like one here?
Yeah, I've had to adjust my thinking. I thought Great News was too short as favourite, so I was looking to back Pandano, but obviously it's got him to probably around his right price now. That said, he's clear top pick. He was dynamic in his qualifier win at Newcastle. McDonald goes on, he looks to map perfectly, and I kind of like the fact they kept him fresh. I mean, that was late Feb, I think he won his qualifier, and they've just said, right, we're in the $500,000 final, let's just keep him on ice and keep him ticking over. I quite like that. He's definitely the one to beat. I think Crystal Breeze will have been set for this, but again, there's no price edges here from what I can see. Crystal Breeze, you wouldn't back to beat Pandano on what they saw at Newcastle. I just think he's set to peak, and if they run along, he'll get his chance. And I think Prince Aurelius is the one on the up, but as Mark said, he's a pretty keen goer, and out to 1,400 in the big field and in a stronger field than he's met before, he might be vulnerable late, but couldn't really find a roughie. It's just a price question again. What price am I prepared to take Pandano? But he's clearly on top.
So if we've seen the first two races suit the on-pace horses, we might be with number 3, Prince Aurelius, who, like my little brother, is a bit of a mad puller.
That could be
too much information.
Sorry, guys.
Looks hard to beat Pandano. I thought Loch Lomond would run a race here, though. He's had 3 starts at Gosford, which, he looks a big strider to me. He was in a race, and I think that race was changed from Wyong back to Gosford. He was supposed to go to a 1350, and the race came back to 1200. They got winkers on him here. I think up to 1400 with a strong rider like Tom Marquand on, he can certainly run a race. So Pandano on top, but I'm going to have something on Loch Lomond as well.
Fascinating race here, race 4, 1,200 metres, Group 2, 2-year-old fillies. This is a very Victorian sort of form references for you guys here. I don't know how to say this horse, but number 2, Naj Matty, was dominant, explosive, paraded outstanding. Mark Shean looked easily the best and walked really well. No horse won like it won that day at Caulfield. There was a lot of merit to the win. Same story, though, for Crystal Bound, who was a $12 shot and not wanted in betting. Paraded fine, good, often a really nice trial, which was the same as the other horse in the market there at Moonee Valley, but it was completely blessed in run at $12. And they did run big time there at the Valley that night. To my eye, I'd have the 2 in front of Crystal Bound, but again, I think the 2 would be further back than midfield, given the way it raced at Caulfield, and Crystal Bound's going to be there just trucking.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. Najmati raced on speed in a couple of trials, and she's drawn awkwardly in both her runs. So I think from barrier number 4, she will take up a more prominent position, in my opinion.
Yep.
She's built like a tank, isn't she? She's got the biggest arse on her you've ever seen. Lovely filly. I saw Crystal Bound trial a couple of times before it raced, and the Sydney trial was awful, and then its Cranbourne trial was okay. Hard fence, Moonee Valley on a leader's track comes up with barrier 10, so Najmati for me 2 are special.
Yeah, it was hard not to be impressed with their Caulfield win. I've come up with Trifaccia. And the CR Cadet's come out, which changes takes a little bit of speed out, but it really wasn't put in the race last time. There's a jockey change on today. I suppose it'll get back again, but I really liked her trial since her last start too. So I was just leaning her way at the price, but Najmati clearly hard to beat. And I thought Crystal Bound was too short as well. I thought had the bias favours at Moonee Valley. It's 1,000 up to 1,200, and will have to be used early to get across as well. So I thought 360 was a bit short.
All right, let's head to race number 5. It's the Australian Oaks, 2,400 metres. It's Group 1 for the fillies. Mark Shean, have you got a speed map here?
Well, it looks to be very little pace. Harmony Rose, you would expect, would be the early leader, unless something breaks its normal pattern, should get left alone in front.
Outside of that, though, it looks like a pretty hard sort of map to put together.
Well, something's going to have to be ridden a lot closer than normal, because there's nothing else in the race really that races near the lead apart from it.
No, I suppose Montefilia, they rode closer in the Derby. I suppose it will just roll across and try to be fairly handy, and I wouldn't expect they'll be looking to get back to last again on Hungry Heart from Barrier 3 at 2,400.
Amaralina doesn't look like it's got a lot of speed either, probably be off pace.
Yeah, it's it does look like Harmony Rose gets control, and I suppose that's why she's favourite. We talked about that Vinery at length when we reviewed it, but look, Hungry Heart was the only horse really to defy the bias of the day and came from last to beat her, but Harmony Rose, as we discussed, really did go far too hard in front that day, so really just is a question of which way you want to assess that. I actually think Hungry Heart might be the most talented horse in the race. She certainly wouldn't be the first filly to win an Oaks on class alone rather than staying ability, and it doesn't look like it's going to be a high pressure race. As long as it doesn't get too far back, I could have her on top. I think Harmony Rose is the clear danger, especially if she does get control at a reasonable pace this time. She'll be hard to get past. And then, much like the market, I thought Montefilia and Amaralina are on sort of the next line. Montefilia is, everyone's potting her at 2,400 after the Victorian Oaks and the Derby last week, but maybe this time she'll be better for having the run under her belt at 1.5 miles. This is the first time she's had 2 goes at the trip in a prep. Maybe that'll top her off. I could certainly see her winning, but I think the market is pretty right here. I think maybe Hungry Heart's a bit longer than it should be. But it's not a massive edge, so it's not a load the cannons race for me at this stage. But if forced, I'd say Hungry Heart.
Mark Shean, is the Adrian Knox a decent form reference for this race?
Look, I think there's been about 2 winners out of the last 10 years, Colette and Royal Descent. Royal Descent carried 59, which I think at the time was a weight-carrying record, so she went into that Oaks pretty prime, but apart from, Colette was dominant last year and she was a dominant wet tracker, so generally Wild Iris also won the Adrian Knox. It was one who was on the improve. Look, it's been an okay form reference, but probably the Storm Queen's been a better race.
So I should give up on Bargain, who just skimming the data stood out to me, and then I'll see Barrier 1.
Yeah, well, I was on Bargain for something the other day too, but I do think she's a much better wet tracker, Dicko. If you look at all the form, I think her runs do improve normally when she gets slow ground, so an improving track might be against her, but she will run the trip. That's one thing in her favour. I'm going for Harmony Rose just because of the fact that she's been on speed in 2 fast-run races at the last 2 starts and does seem to get some sort of control in front here early, or at the very worst be second or third in what looks to be a slow-run race on paper. Hungry Heart's the danger for me. I think that's the form race leading in.
Righto, race 6, 1,200 metres, Group 2, the 3-year-olds. This is a hot little race. Or is it? Is it just they've got this completely wrong and there's a complete and utter certainty here? I think there might be. September Run is just favourite from Isotope. I repeat, September Run is only just favourite from Isotope.
You're telegraphing what you think pretty clearly, I think, Jack.
Well, I think Isotope. Let me just scroll down my Punting Form page. So Isotope SP $2.15 in the 3-year-old Guineas on the Gold Coast in the Magic Millions race. September Run SP $2.80 in the Newmarket at Flemington. Oh fuck! How is this thing not $2? I think it's an absolute. It's just a non-thinking. You don't have to overthink this bet. Barrier 1 maybe is a concern. The map may be a concern. This horse was enormous in the Moya, enormous, and paraded. So Newmarket Day, Mark Shean and Rob Scurry, who'll be watching, it was real antsy and toey and a bit of a, had the shits a bit. Moya walked almost like a panther, improved heaps, and the performance improved heaps. I think there were excuses in the Newmarket. She got a big hip and shoulder on jumping and was diggerised the whole way up the straight by Michael Walker on Gerald Ryan's horse. Standout. But I just can't see how she doesn't start like closer to $2 and barring a catastrophe, just piss in.
How do you explain her Sydney form then? The only negative from me is that her Sydney form is not anywhere near the same as her Melbourne form.
My opinion there is that she hasn't raced in Sydney for a very long time. She sort of came of age. Peter and I, more so Peter, was very big even when she was toey at Flemington as to how much she'd grown and improved this preparation. I think she's just taken a bit of time and gone through her work. It's just a coincidence that she's been running in Melbourne. I don't think there's enough to knock her in Sydney. Like her SP profile in proper races, like she's as good as Masked Crusader, who almost beat Nature Strip last week. Like Craig Williams sticks. You know how much he loves cash. Like he's going to give this horse every single possible chance. This is a man who rode in Sydney last Saturday and then went home and went to Ballarat. It snowed ice here, Mark, on Sunday morning. I woke up. I thought it was snowing. I live on the beach. No bullshit, right? This guy went to Sydney, came back and went to Ballarat. Right? That's how much they love cash. This horse is going to get every possible from barrier one. Every possible. I think it'll be winning.
Well, don't really need to say anything to me. My concern, look, I think you're right on the form and the figures, and you brought up the barrier one, which is a negative. If I was a bookie and I was desperate to get her beaten, I would say that her 4 best runs have all been down the Flemington Straight, and that is always a reason you can oppose one if you want to. That said, I think if you're going to find a turning track that suits her, Randwick's going to be it. One turn and spacious track as well. Yeah, you're quite right. The form lines are just much, much stronger. She was totally unsuited at Moonee Valley last start. And I think she's a better horse than Isotope, and I think above $3 is a bet. Isotope's pretty foolproof and talented and honest. She's next pick, and Wild Ruler back to 3-year-old grade. Run off his legs in the Galaxy would be 3rd pick. But yeah, I'm not as bullish as you. I don't think it's possible for anyone to be as bullish about anything as you are about this horse, but I do have her clearly on top.
Mark C.
The race was a yard watch for me. I wanted to have a look what September run looked like coming back from Melbourne. I think Isotope paraded with some sort of improvement at Rosehill and has been set for this race, whereas just about everything else has sort of had a run somewhere else. At this stage, I've got 9 on top from 8, but I could easily change on the yard.
I thought number 6, Amish Boy, was some hope and like a fair price.
Good in the Newmarket. He's fallen short in Sydney before, which worries me. But yeah, I mean, he's run. What was he, 3rd in the Newmarket? I think, or 4th.
Yeah, 3rd. He was suited. And I agree with that Flemington Straight thing, but that's the run at Moonee Valley is like what's got me over the line.
Yeah, fair enough.
Race number 7, lads, is a 3,200 metre Sydney Cup. The Melbourne Cup's poor cousin. It's a Group 1. Shit, it's a Group 1. Should we go through the market for the Group 1?
Well,
not really. Speed map. Speed map.
Speed map in the 2-mile race. I had the Gay Waterhouse horses, Sacramento and Hush Rider, and Spirit will be up there with Spirit Ridge. Good idea from barrier 1, won't be far away. Thought Sound might roll forward up to 2 miles as well. But yeah, they've got plenty of time to think about it.
What about Favourite Moon? Where's it map?
I'd be right there, I'd say.
Yeah, fairly handy.
5th to 6th rail. Okay, yeah, I like She's Ideal here. I have been a victim of her for quite some time, but I just think coming out of a placing in the Tancred or BMW or whatever they call it now, down to 50 kilos, this has been a number of horses have done this, been placed at that weight for age race and then come back to a handicap. I think she'll see the trip out and hit the line quite strongly the other day. I think Spirit Ridge is an improver. He's paraded poorly at both his runs this time in. Was very keen when he led last time out. They've taken the blinkers off him. So I think he had a lot of improvement looking at him in the yard. So he was left in front the other day, and I'm hoping that he can get a trail from barrier number 2. So I've got him in for second. And I thought Southern France was just in the wrong part of the track all the way at Rose Hill. I have missed the price, unfortunately, though. But 12 on top for me in the Sydney Cup.
Yep, I'm the same. She did have a rail. She was rails in run on a day where that was a big plus in the Tancred, but still, I mean, second to Sir Dragonet, who we're going to everyone's giving a chance to in the Queen Elizabeth. That's a stronger form line than most of these have, and she drops down to 50 kilos. I think she should be favourite. I think Favourite Moon, I imagine, has some improvement to come, and Realm of Flowers was huge in the Manion Cup, but I just thought that race was terrible, really, in comparison to some of the other form lines we're facing here. So I think there's a bit of this market's a bit upside down because Favourite Moon and Realm of Flowers are favourite and second favourite, so it can go around them. I think She's Ideal should be favourite. This might run last, but the Chosen One's 3,200 metre form is sensational. He was horrible in the Tancred, but not many of these could be running placings in, or running top 4 in Caulfield Melbourne Cups. He ran second in this last year, so just on the strength of his 3,200 metre form, I don't want to lose in him if he's going to be around 20 to 1. And I'm going to chase my money on Rondinella, who I was on last week and done all but win at good odds. Just ran into Quick Thinker, the wet tracker, and they beat the others by about 6. That was a really, truly run 2,600 metre race, and she was strongest on the line, if anything. So the 3,200 should hold no fears for it, and she's got no weight as well. So I'll probably back all 3 of those. She's Ideal, the main play, who, as I said, I think should be favourite. Spectre, Chosen One, and Rondinella.
Beautiful. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Here we go. The Queen Elizabeth, a weight for age, group for 1, over 2,000 metres. They're calling this the race of the century. We've got the International Adabe versus Sir Dragonet, the Cox Plate winner, versus Very Elegant, the Caulfield Cup winner, and Mugatu, the All-Star Mile winner. It's a real sort of headliner battle here. What price does Very Elegant start first, boys? I'm going to say $2.
Yeah, I think she'll be a firmer on the day, depending on the track. If we get a little bit of rain, which they're predicting,
well, they turn the tap on. You're right, Dinko. What price, Mark Rhoden?
I don't know if it's genuinely good. Neither of these two are at their best on firm. I reckon they both want Sting out for their absolute best. That's an if. I see the forecast has changed again. It's gone from 3 to 10 to 0 to 2 to 0 to 5. So if the rain comes, it suits them both, and probably a day even more than Very Elegant if they get rain during the meeting. But if it's a genuinely good track, if they don't irrigate and they don't get rain, it could even throw up a result, and I'm just not sure what. I wouldn't completely discount any of the 7 of them on a genuinely dry track.
Poor old Dallasan. Imagine the head noirs this horse has. Hopefully horses can't overthink things, because I think this thing was in the Newmarket.
Yeah, it's...
this race against September Run, who's in... anyway.
There was a bit of money for Doncaster last week too, and he ran
good. He's a good horse. He's just confused.
Yeah. Have you got can you give us a lead, Mark? Because I've just completely confused myself, I think.
Well, it's interesting the blinkers going on a Dave. I don't know that that's a savage rap, is it, for a 7-year-old to be getting the blinkers for the first time? Look, when he came here, we were all saying, his form in the UK was better this year than last year, and he's put in a run a little bit below par compared to last year, and his rating was down, and now they've put blinkers on him, so that concerns me a little bit.
He did improve, even though he won both starts last autumn, he did improve the second up from first up.
Yeah, but he got a bog the second time. He got an absolute bog at Randwick the second time.
His dry track form in the UK is poor, really.
Yeah.
it's lengths off his best.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to rush into this race. I got Very Elegant on top for the record, only because last year when she ran in this race, she was coming back from the 2400, and I think she was over the top by the time she got back there. She'd won the Tancred. She'd won ran in the Randwick, ran in the Tancred, and they've missed the Tancred this year to keep her a bit fresher. But yeah, I'd probably want to be winning to butter up at around 6-4.
Is Sir Dragon a tremendous unders here?
Is he a wet tracker as well?
Yep, probably.
Well, you look at that field that he beat the other day. It's She's Idea. They're all 2 milers. Miami Bound. You know, it wasn't a true weight for age race, was it? And
then the week prior, Mark,
sorry, it was a kind ride at Rose Hill. He just let Very Elegant push him out of the way. They're coming to the turn, but he did look safely held up the straight.
And he SP'd $14 versus like $2.80 Very Elegant there, and now we're going to take half that.
Been going awful in Melbourne. He couldn't be any shorter than $14 in the Randwick that day, but he showed a glimpse that day, and then, I mean, he hasn't gone to his Cox Plate win was a fair bit better than his Tancred win, even though he was dominant in that race. It just shows how weak the Tancred was, really. And I think he'd want it to rain to have a chance of turning these over at 2,000. Yeah.
Righto, there's the Queen Elizabeth punters. Now we head to the Queen of the Turf, 600 metres, Group 1 weight for age, the fillies. Same story as the last race. What prices probably will start here? Koch and Soda.
If she parades well, very, very short indeed, I would suggest. I mean,
Mark Shean.
She started favourite. She started 350 against Russian Camelot and Magatu in the All-Star Mile.
Let's not talk about fucking Russian Camelot anymore.
Sorry, he's retired now. You don't have to worry about him. But
how didn't it win? Honestly.
And then, okay, so you totally forgive that run. The track was heavy by that stage, which she doesn't like. And before that, she's knocking over Arcadia Queen in the Futurity. I mean,
I think that the track was a heavy that day. By the time she raced to Moonee Valley, I think they kept it a soft so she didn't scratch.
Yeah, well,
she paraded like a fucking panther. She was like perfection. I think she starts $2, and I think she's as good at bet as September run. I'm gonna have a little like victim all up the two of them. Like, I'd be interested in backing her in any race on the card.
At weight for age against mares, she's ridiculously well placed. You know, you owed him the second pick. She was good against Isotope first run in Sydney, but had the right run that day for the pattern. I think they're too close together in the betting, and Colette's third pick who needs it wet, so I think she picks herself.
Is Karen a concern?
Sorry, mate.
Karen a concern?
No. Look, I think they'll string out here, won't they?
Oh, it's worth $1 million.
Yeah, he's a plus if any in $1 million race.
Yep.
Look, I think you have to have her on top. You just forget she went round the other day. She won 4 of the last 6, and with 2 failures on wet ground in between. So thrown in against fillies and mares at level weights. Odium, the only one I could entertain as a danger.
Simple.
Done?
Yep.
Lucky last, punters, race 10. 10 of the best. Tefano's $12 here in a 1,200 metre Group 2 race for fillies and mares. Mark Shean, have you got a bit of a speed map for the punters here?
Speed map, I think Adelong will go forward. Emanate's been on speed, but I think they'll probably try and take a sit for Seeker, Sweet Deal, California Zimbol. So I think Adelong looked the leader to me, unless I've missed one there somewhere. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, Adelong, I think, has to lead at 1,200. I think there'll be, I think she's the designated leader, and there'll be a bit of pressure just because of the size of the field. There'll be, there 15 of them. People will be pushing forward to try and get their positions early, so there should be good speed. And for that reason, I've landed on the New Zealander in Triviere, outside barrier. A bit scary on paper, but Joe McDonald won the last race, and identical setup on Matchmaker, another New Zealander last week. Admittedly, the track was favouring horses coming down the middle by then. We don't know that that'll be the case tomorrow, but I was very taken with her last win in New Zealand. She's got a great record, won 5 out of 6, I think, in an established trial since. And I'm not just on the figures I get from New Zealand, she's competitive or ahead of what the Australian mares have been doing. Tafani has had a kidney infection, I read, so whether she's, I mean, obviously at her best she'd beat these, but whether she's going to be at her best first up after that setback is got to be a question mark. Seasons is flying. If Barrier 1's not a disadvantage by race 10, I think she's in the race. And what am I up to after that? California Zimble. Been waiting for Wonderbar to get to Randwick. She's flying without winning, but she's managed to possibly cop a dry track on a feature day at Randwick, which is about 100 to 1 itself. But if it was a wet track, I'd have her much closer to Entriviere. But as it stands, I'm going 3 pretty clearly on top from 7, 5 and 11.
I'm with Wonderbar, even though she is on a dry track here. I thought it run 2 runs ago, which was definitely on a dry track behind California Zimble. Was a very good run. That was just in the wrong lane completely at Rosehill the other day. We've seen Cascadian come out of that same lane and win, so it was just a no-go zone out wide there. She still made up a lot of ground, I think, from a better draw here. And probably a little bit of juice still in the track. You wouldn't know what they're likely to do. So 11 Wonderbar on top. Am very worried about this New Zealand mare Entriviere, who has sprinted brilliantly at the last couple of wins and also a great trial since, as Mark suggested. And Seasons looks to be flying. Lesbridge looks to have got her back on track, and from barrier number 1 should get a good run. The other one who might run an improved race, Fiesta, who's been in 2 races where they just haven't, the pattern hasn't suited, so I wouldn't say she's hopeless either, but 11 for me, Wonderbar.
Righto, boys. Best bet, value bet for the punters at home. I'll have a September run into a Provincial all-up. Mark, Shean, what do you got best?
I like Ellsberg in the second and Najmati in race number 4, and I'll probably lay Converge in the first, I would say.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm with you on September Run and Provincial. I think they both look very, very hard to beat, and just at a better price, I'll make it the Kiwi in the last in Entriviere.
Beautiful work, boys. Thank you very much. Koch and Soda, what's your monthly in and out units? Are you flying?
It'll be better if Rhys Jones had done a better job on that thing in the 900 metre race at Newcastle yesterday, but we're up about 20. I didn't update it after that. I think we're plus 20 off a spend of about 40, so 50% on turnover. So
Airborne, head to the mailbag.com.au, check it out, support the team. Big days racing. Rob Scurry is fucking airborne. I don't know if Mr. Sheen's been in his ear and just giving him a little bit of wisdom. I don't know, but something's happened, and Roberto Scurry is.
I'm not going near that. I'm not going anywhere near
that. Enjoy the championships. Bye for now.
Thanks, mate. See ya.